it's a more profound structural movement, which I think is partly due to the fact that some young people are finding it difficult to look through the future, partly due to people who are just too detached and had a proper reaction because there was a drama. But there are structural issues with the way that people are looking into the future. So what does that mean for us? One is we need to re-industrialize, and this is something, for example, that Biden has been doing in the US. This is something that we want to do in Europe and obviously France. And then there are many measures which have been taken by the UK, by Denmark, by Sweden, which we will get inspiration from to address the structural roots of this problem.
We'll go back to this reindustrialization issue a little bit later, but one thing I want to ask you is, because of those riots, because President Macron had to cancel his state visit to Germany, and we know that the Franco-German engine has had some difficult times recently and some tensions. And so I read somewhere that someone said that the war in Ukraine has set the Franco-German engine on fire. There's a lot of differences on defense, on energy, separately on fiscal rules and their reform. So what's the next step in the Franco-German engine, and what's the path forward to kind of try to reconcile some of those differences?
So I think we should distinguish two things. What really, really matters at the European level is that France and Germany look in the same direction for the future of Europe. And what do I mean by the future of Europe? I mean enlargement, I mean the energy transition, I mean what will make us a sovereign region in the near future. And on this, and I was with President Steinmeier because of this cancelled state visit, I think France and Germany look in the same direction. And then there is the level below, which is the economic competition, which we have because we all have businesses. With one difference on energy, it is in the EU treaty that there should be technology neutrality for energy, so we can use nuclear. We're not asking Germany to do the same. Also, they're importing nuclear electricity. But this is something which is a red line for us and on which we will continue to fight. But just to add, I mean, we are talking constantly to Germany. I talk with my counterpart all the time. I was to her last week. I will see her next week. Bruno Le Maire was in Germany and in discussion with Lindner and Habeck a week ago. Catherine Colonna is meeting regularly, and Annalena Baerbock, and the Chancellor is obviously seeing the President very often. So there's a constant dialogue, but it's like good friends. When you disagree, then you agree to disagree.
Let me ask you to put your economist hat back on just for a minute. Ask you about just the economic environment in Europe. Of course, we've seen those inflation figures in June that were lower than expected. The PMI numbers that seem to come out, producer prices, everything that show that the economy is cooling down. So are we on the right path, in your opinion? Or do you have the concern that potentially things are going to cool off too much and they could be impacting economic activity?
So I think the premise is that Europe, there were difficulties with the financial crisis. There were difficulties afterwards, but since COVID, Europe has been, in terms of policy making, really, really good. COVID was really well managed with the right and the appropriate policy support. We had the aggression of Russia into Ukraine, which sent energy prices through the roof. And okay, they were expensive, but no one has had any security supply energy supply issue. Inflation has been tamed. For example, in France, we have one of the lowest inflation rates. We're still projecting 1% growth. So I think given the circumstances, the series of shocks that we had, European policy making has been really appropriate and without any excess, unlike some other countries.